to Vab Fashions YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. In this video, we'll be learning how to make this stylish long top. It's a long top because it starts from the shoulder and stops below the hip line. You can see it's almost close to the knee. It's a combination of lace and Ankara print. Now here, the upper part of this outfit is a printed armhole bustier, and then the down part, this side, I have pleats on one side. So I have a one-sided pleat, and then this side is A shape. You see? And then we also have this beautiful bell sleeves. You can see our sleeve is really coming out very beautiful. And this is what we have on this side. It is really simple to make. I hope this is something you are interested in learning. If this is it, please make sure to keep on watching till the end. And if this is your first time on my channel and you haven't subscribed, please click on the subscribe button to subscribe and ensure to put on your notification bell so you'll be the first to get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So let's get right into the video. So these are the materials we'll be using. Here is a sample lace fabric and I have 2.5 yards here. And then this is an African print fabric, which is also known as Ankara. And this is my lining. I also have this lace trimming I'll be stitching around the neckline. So to get started, we'll be starting with the upper part and I'll be drafting directly on my lining. So to draft our upper part, I've folded my fabric already. And you need to determine the amount of fabric to use. The bust measurement, which is the biggest measurement of the upper part, is what I'm using to determine the amount of fabric. And I divided it by 4. After dividing by 4, I got 11.25. I added 4 inches to that measurement. This is to take care of all my dart intake. So 11.25 plus 4, that gave me 15.25. So I went ahead to fold my fabric, and here I have about 16 inches, and that's okay. So first I'm going to draw the starting line, which is the shoulder line. Now let me read out the measurements we need. We need the shoulder measurement, the bust measurement, the under bust measurement, the waist measurement, which is around the half length, the hip measurement, the full length of the top, shoulder to bust point, shoulder to under bust point, shoulder to half length. And then you also need your back half length. So from this starting line, the first line I'm going to mark is the chest line, and the chest line here is 10 inches. A very simple way of getting your chest line: divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 2.5 and you have the chest line. So the next line I'm going to mark here is the bust point line, which is 11.5. The next line is the under bust line, which is 15 inches. Then the half length, which is 17.5 inches. I'll be adding half inch to that measurement. This is for joining the down part, which is the flare. So I'm marking here on 18 inches. So I'll go ahead and straighten out all the lines I have here. First line, I'm going to label it CL, bust line BL, under bust line, and then waist line. So having done that, here on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark the shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus half inch. And the shoulder I'm working with is 18 inches. 18 divided by 2 plus half inch, that's 9.5. And then I'm going to mark a neck width of 4 inches. Here that I have half of the shoulder measurement, I'll come down by 1.5 inches for the shoulder slant. For the front shoulder slant, I'm coming down by 1.5 inches. And then I'll connect it to the neck width here. I'll come down to the chest line and mark half of the shoulder measurement plus half inch, which is 9.5. And then I'll connect it a straight line to the shoulder line. So now that I have done this, now to create the armhole. To create the armhole from the chest line here, I'm going to go up by 3 inches. At this 3 inches mark, I'll go in by 3/4 of an inch. And then I'll connect it back to the shoulder tip like this. And then here on the chest line, I'm going to enter 1/4 of the bust measurement. That's the bust measurement divided by 4, and that's 11.25. And then I'll curve it to meet this point. So now this is our front armhole line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to enter the bust pan, which is the nipple to nipple. And the nipple to nipple of my client is 8.5 inches. So 8.5 inches divided by 2, that will give me 4 and quarter. That's 4.25. So plus half inch, that means I'm going to be marking on 4 and 3/4. Like all the points, you can see I stopped here on the bust line. So now I'm going to enter the bust measurement divided by 4 on the bust line here, which is 11.25. The next thing we're going to do is to do our dart intake. And to create that, to know what we're going to tighten the under bust with, we need to identify, or we need to find out the difference between the bust and the under bust. And the under bust of my client is 36 inches. 36 divided by 4, that will give me 9 inches. Okay, so that's 9 inches. And then the bust measurement divided by 4, that gives us 11.25. Our bust is 45 inches, so that's 11.25. So 11.25 minus 9, that will give us 2.25, which is 2 and quarter. So I'm going to use this 2 and quarter to tighten the under bust and the waist. So now this is what I'm going to do. I have 2.25. I'm going to distribute it here. So on this side, I'm going to mark half of an inch on the center side. This is our middle piece and this is our side piece. So here at the center, I'm going to mark half inch. I'll mark half inch here also on the waistline. Then on this side, I'm going to mark the remaining, that's enter the remaining measurement I have. So since I have 2.25, 2.25 minus half inch. So that will give me 1.75. So I'll enter the remaining 1.75 on this side. So after doing that, I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect the points. And then now I want to curve it to meet the bust point. So from this bust point line, I'm going to come down by 3/4 of an inch. And then from the bust point line, I'll go up also by 3/4 of an inch. So I'll mark it here at this point. So I'll bring in my armhole curve and connect from this point to this 3/4 inch I have here. So you want to make sure to place the armhole curve correctly. And then I'll also curve this side. So now that we have done this, I'll come to the armhole. Then I'll get the midpoint of the armhole here. We just fold my tape into two, and then here this is the midpoint. So I haven't got the midpoint. From this midpoint here, I'm going to come down by 3/4 of an inch. So this is because this is a plus size I'm working with. If you are on the small side, from the midpoint you can come down by half of an inch. If I'm working with bust 52, let's say bust 52, I'll come down by 1 inch. So the bigger the person, the more the dart intake. So from this midpoint, I'm going to connect to this 3/4 inch. I came up here on the bust point. So I'm just going to place my armhole curve and make sure it touches the 3/4 inch and touches this point. Can you see that? And then from this 3/4 inch I came down here, I'm also going to connect it like this. So this is our armhole that will be cutting out. So now that we have done this, the next thing I'm going to do is to enter all our measurements. But before we go ahead and enter all our measurements, this 3/4 inch I have here, I'm going to, because I'll be cutting out this, so I'm going to replace it back here on the chest line. So you can see I've replaced back my 3/4 inch. So now the next thing we're going to do is to enter all our measurements and our sewing allowances. So here on the bust line, I already have the bust measurement divided by 4. So I'll go ahead and add my 2 inches for sewing allowance. Then I also need half joining allowance. I'll be joining this with half inch on both sides. Remember, I'm drafting on my fabric. So half inch on this side, half inch on this side. So that's 1 inch. So I'll mark that 1 inch here. So here on the underbust line, the underbust divided by 4 is 9 inches. I'm going to measure my dart intake here. This is 2.25, which is 2 and quarter. I'll replace it back here. And then I'll add my 2 inches for sewing allowance. And I also need half inch to join them on both sides. So I'll add 1 inch. So on the waistline, the waist measurement is the same thing as what I have on the underbust measurement. So I'm just going to measure what I have here and replace it back here. So if your waist measurement is more, all you need to do is to enter what your waist measurement is here, and then replace all your darts. So just go ahead and connect the points like this. And then here on the chest line, the same 3 inches measurement I added, because it's 3 inches I added for my sewing allowance and all. So I add it here on the chest line. So you see, the line will just go out like this, and that's it. So now for the armhole, I'm going to be extending the side piece. This is because by the time we're joining them together, after cutting out our dart, the side has a tendency of being shorter. So to extend it, what I have here on my dart intake is what I'll extend the armhole of the side piece with. And that's 2¼ inch. So from this curve of the armhole, I'll come out by 2¼ inch. So which is this point. So you can see, so this is this point. So from this 2¼ inch, I'll curve it to meet the chest line here. So now this is what our side piece looks like. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to take away the difference between the front and the back, which is the bust dart. Remember, I talked about the front half length and the back half length. And for my client, her front half length is 17.5 inches, while her back half length is 16 inches. So that's a difference of 1.5. So at the side here, that's on the waistline, I will go up by that 1.5 inches. And then I'll connect it to the first dart leg here. So it just rises at this point. That's on the side piece. So this is now our side dart. So now the next thing we're going to do is to draw our neckline using a neck depth of 6.5 inches. So I'm going to mark my 6.5 inches here, and I already have a width of 4 inches. So I'll bring in my armhole curve and connect the points. So this is what we have here in front. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my scissors, and then we'll cut out our pieces. So now this is what our front piece looks like. You see? So I have my 2 front pieces. So I'll fold my lining so that we can draft the back. The back is going to be really simple. It's a basic back. So this is our back. It's just the basic back. So here I have my starting line. I have my neck width of 4 inches. And then you can see these are shoulder slant. I marked the shoulder slant of 1 inch at the back here. And then you can see that this is our chest line. At this midpoint of the armhole, unlike the front, I came up by 3 inches and I went in by 3/4 inch. But here for the back, I got the midpoint of the armhole, which is this point, by folding my tape into two, like this. I took my measurement from the shoulder slant to this point and I folded into two, and this is the midpoint. At this midpoint, I went in by 1/2 inch, and then I connected it to this point, and then I curved it to the chest line. And here on the chest line is the bust measurement I have. You can see I also added my sewing allowance of 2 inches. And then here on the waistline, this is what I did. I marked my the waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for that, so that brought me to 10 inches, and then plus the sewing allowance of 2 inches. And you can see this line I have here is the zip allowance line. So you can see these are zip allowance. On the zip allowance, I came in by 1/2 inch to eliminate zipper bulge. Just like the front, I have a neck width of 4 inches, and then at the back here, I have a neck depth of 2.5 inches. So I've done several videos on how to draft a basic bodice. This is just a basic bodice. Just in case you do not really understand what I've done here, I'm going to be dropping the link on how to draft a basic bodice in the description box so that you can learn and you can watch and learn how to draft a basic bodice. So the next thing I'm going to do here is to mark the bust pan. The bust pan is 8.5. When you divide it by 2, that's 4¼ I'll be marking it here for my dart at the back. So from this center back line, I'm going to mark 4¼ I'll mark it also here, 4¼ on the chest line, and then I'll connect it like this. So from the chest line, I'll come down by 1/2 inch, and then I'll mark 1/2 inch on both sides of this line. Remember, I added 1 inch for my dart. So half inch on both sides, that means I have 1 inch. And then I'll connect it to this point and then also to this point. So this is what my back darts look like. So now we're going to go ahead and cut out our back piece. So this is what our back piece looks like. So remember I said that the back half length is 16 inches. So here you can see I have 16.5 inches because we need half inch to join the down part. So that's that for the back. So I'm going to fold my fabric so that we can draft the down part. So now it's time for us to draft the down part. And you will notice that from the thumbnail, the one side of the front, that's one side of the down part is pleated, while the other side is without pleat. So now, what you need to put into consideration first is the length. The full length of our top is 36 inches. So 36, we're going to subtract the half length, that's the front half length from this 36 inches. So 36 minus 17.5, that will give me 18.5. So plus my hemming allowance of 1.5 inches, so that will give us a total of 20 inches. So now we now know that the down part is going to be 20 inches in length. So the next thing we are going to do is to draft one side of the front and also one side of the back, because I said that one side has pleats and the other side is without pleats. So I'm going to fold my fabric so that we can draft one side of the front and then one side of the back as well. So I'll cut out the fabric we'll be using. To determine the amount of fabric we'll be using, I'm going to use the biggest circumference, which is the hip measurement. The hip divided by 4 is 12.5. So 12.5 plus 1.5 inches, that will give me 14 inches. So I'll cut out this 14 inches and show us the next thing to do. Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut out the fabric we're using. And here, the length I have here is 20 inches, which is the length of the down part. And then the width I have for the upper one is 14 inches. And then the down one is 15.5 inches. This down one has 15.5 inches because we need our zip allowance on one side, which is 1.5 inches for our zip allowance. So you can see that one is wider than the other. This is where the first one stops and this is where the second one stops. So here, that is going to serve as my zip allowance. I'm just going to mark it out so that we can see it clearly. So basically, this is now going to be the center back and the center front as well. So this part is my zip allowance. Okay. So this part is already straight. I don't really need to mark my starting line, but let's just do that so that we can see it. So this is the starting line, which is going to serve as the waistline. Then next, I'm going to mark the hip line. To mark the hip line, I'm going to place my tape on minus the half length. And the half length of my client is 17.5 inches. So I'll place my tape on 17 inches because we need half inch to join the upper part. So I'm placing my tape exactly on 17 inches, not 17.5, because that half inch will be for joining the upper part. So that's why I'm placing on 17 inches. Next, I'm going to mark the hip line, and the hip line of my client is 26 inches. Next, I'm going to mark the full length of the top, which is 36 inches. And then what I have left here is the hemming allowance. So having marked this point, now here on the waistline, I'm going to enter the waist measurement divided by 4, which is 9 inches. And then on the hip line, I'm going to enter the measurement divided by 4, and this is 12.5. On the hemline here, that's on the full length, I'll enter the hip measurement here also. Take note of where I'm placing my tape. I started from this line, the center front line. So I'll go ahead and connect the points. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and add a sewing allowance of 1 inch on the side here. So I'll mark 1 inch here, 1 inch here also, 1 inch also here on the hemline. So I'll also connect the points. So this is it. So now at the center back here, I'm going to be taking out zipper bulge. This is so that it doesn't bulge at the back, just like I did for the upper part. So I'm going to mark 1/2 inch here at the center back on the waistline, 1/2 inch. And then on this hip line, I'll go up by 1 inch and connect this 1/2 inch mark I have here. I'll connect it like this. So that's just it. For this down part, we don't need bum illusion. Remember that one side is going to be pleated, so there is no need for any bum illusion. It will just be fine. So now the next thing I'm going to do here on the center front here, this is our center front. At this center front, I will go down by 1 inch. This is to give it that nice balance in front. This is for our waist sloper so that it doesn't gather in front. So I've gone down by 1 inch. I'll use this part of my ruler and connect it to the actual measurement, to the actual waist measurement, which is this point, not to the sewing allowance. So that's that for this side of our down part. So I'm going ahead to cut out the zipper bulge and then just cut out the side here. Now we have our back piece. So the back, I'm going to notch it to indicate that this is where our center back is with the zip allowance. So I'll separate the front from the back and then I'll cut out the waist sloper. What our front piece looks like, and this is what our back piece looks like. So this is one side of the front and one side of the back. So now the next thing we are going to do now is to cut out the pleat. So to cut out the pleat, we already have one side already. So this is what we are going to do. Since we have one side of the center, and that's of the front, and we have one side of the back. Now the waist measurement we are working with is 36 inches. So we already have 18 inches here, isn't it? Here we have 9 inches and here we have 9 inches. So that means we're looking for 18 inches extra to give us the other side of the back. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to say 18 times 3 because we're going to be pleating it. So 18 times 3, and that will give us 54 inches. And then you will also realize that the pleat did not just stop at the center. It's not a straight pleat. It's slanted inwards. It's slanted this way. So to create that slant, I'm just going to add extra 10 inches to that measurement. We can always trim out our excess. So here I have 64 inches. So now the width of the fabric I'll be cutting out is going to be 64 inches, and the length is going to be and the length is going to be 20 inches, which is what we have here on this side of the front. Width is 64, length is 20 inches. So I'll cut it out on my fabric and I'll show us the next thing to do. So I have the side that we're going to pleat and the side we're not going to pleat. These are two front pieces. This is the straight side and the side with the pleats, okay? So now I'm going to place this side over this one. I'm going to be overlapping it with 4 inches. So this is where my 4 inches mark is. I'm marking it. Take note that this is the right side of my fabric. So I'm going to place it over like this. Can you see? This is 4 inches over this side. Now I'll bring in my straight ruler and create a slanted line. You see? Just going to slant it like this. You see that it's a slanted line. So exactly at the point where I have it placed 4 inches over. You see this way I finished up my line. So I'll cut out this shape. So I won't cut out this shape. I'll also remove this one under. I did this for both the lining and the fabric for this one. So I'm going to repeat this on the lining of this. So can you see how this now it's making it up? You see I'll be joining them together like this. So I'm just going to bring in the lining and also slant it this way. And then we'll go ahead and cut out our sleeve and I'll show us the next thing to do. So as you can see, I've done exactly the same thing for my lining. So I'm going to set this aside now so that we can cut our sleeve. I'll be using the lace fabric to illustrate the sleeve cutting. It's a bell sleeve, and then one side of the bell sleeve, that's the center side, which is the folded side of the bell sleeve, is higher than this other side. So to determine the amount of fabric to fold, I'm going to use the width, how wide I want the down part of the bell sleeve to be. So here I have 14 inches, so that's fine now. That's how wide I want the down part to be, including our sewing allowance. And the length of the sleeve is going to be 23 inches. That's plus hemming allowance also. The length of my client sleeve measurement is 22 plus hemming allowance of 1 inch, that's 23, plus half inch for joining it to the shoulder. So that's a total of 23.5. So I'm going to mark here. This is the length of the sleeve. You see? So from here, I'll come down by the calf height of my client, which is 4¼ This is 4¼ here. So here on the calf side line, I'll enter her armhole measurement, and her armhole is 8.8. So I'm going to mark here on 8.8. Then plus the sewing allowance, I'll be using a sewing allowance of just 1.5 here. So this is it. And then I'm just going to create the curve of the sleeve. You can see. So this is just our curve. So remember I said I want the sleeve to be 18 inches wide, and 14 inches wide at the down part. So from here, I'm just going to connect it to that 14 inches. You see? So this is what our bell sleeve looks like. So at this folded part, I will 4 inches, 4.5 inches. So at this 4.5 inches I went up by here, I'm just going to connect it to this side. You see? So I connect it to this side. So right now our bell sleeve is ready. I'm going to cut it out. So this depends on how wide you want it to be, depending on the amount of fabric you have also. Okay, so this is what our bell sleeve looks like. You see? So I'm going to place this on my fabric and cut the second sleeve, and also cut the ankara that will be underneath, and then I'll show us the next thing to do. Are the front pieces. These are center piece and our two side pieces. For this side piece, you can see I placed my lace on top of it, and I used my hemming gum to gum it down. So we're going to have the lace on top of one side of the front, and we're not going to have on the other side. So here at the center piece, we're just going to have the lace just on one side of the center piece. So I'm going to shift this aside and place my lace. The right side and the wrong side of the lace will be facing the right side of the ankara fabric, here like this. So we're just going to have the lace slanted just to one side. Can you see? Can you see? So this is a lace and it is transparent, so I can see the ankara underneath. So I just need to cut it out like this, following the shape I have here. I can see my bustier under, so I can just follow the shape. So this is it. This is what we have. So we want to have the lace just on this side of the center piece. So I'll trace out the neckline also. So to place this lace, you need your hemming gum. I'm just going to use my hemming gum to hold it down. Okay. So now I have my lace placed on one side. So this is what we have. So for the bustier, I'm going to join them right side facing right. You can see how I'm placing the side piece over the center piece, and then I'll stitch it this way all the way to this end. I'll repeat the same thing for this side. I've done princess armhole bustier severally on this channel. So I'll repeat the same thing for my lining piece also. I'm going to stitch them. Okay, we're done with the cutting part and we'll have to stop here for now in order not to make this video longer than necessary. In my next video, I'm going to be showing us how to stitch our pieces together to achieve this lovely outcome. So meaning our next video is going to be the sewing part of this lovely blouse. If you have watched this video up until this point and you have learned something, make sure to click on the subscribe button and ensure to put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Feel free to leave your questions in the comment section if you have any questions. Leave nice comments, say something nice, and do not forget to share this video with your friends and loved ones. Thank you so much and see you in my next one. Bye.